What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Fanatic Journey. So when it comes down to Lucid expanding, there is actually a lot of good updates I do want to share with you. So I want to break that down and what it truly does mean for Lucid investors, bigger picture. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And without further ado, let's get right to it. So one very good indicator to watch for as far as Lucid expanding is hiring. And they recently did bring on a new managing director for European expansion, and his name is 𝗪𝗓𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧. He is a former managing director of Jaguar Land Rover, and of course he does bring a hell of a lot of good experience and very well suited for this new role in European expansion. So I think this is a very good thing, and even more so is just piggybacking off the recent hiring in July of 2022, and that was for these two individuals. So Walter Lutwig, who is a VP of Global Logistics at Lucid, and also Evelyn Chiang, who is a VP of Process Transformation. Both positions very well suited for European expansion. So I think over the last year or so, Lucid's been really preparing themselves to take over Europe. And of course, that is one thing that I absolutely love, because if you look at any of the stats whatsoever, it does justify that there's a massive amount of demand in Europe. And of course, Lucid targets all the areas that have massive demand. And when it comes down to even more so Europe and the new studios that's opening, I did a whole video just on Norway. So yes, there's a lot of massive demand in Europe, but Norway is number one because of all the vehicles sold in Norway. 80% is EVs. That's massive. Very, very good for Lucid. And I think in general that also is good because technically Lucid doesn't have to market as much as, for instance, if they are in the States. Because as you can see, if there is less demand potentially, then you just have to market more. Whereas in China and Europe, technically they could piggyback and just fall back onto their original marketing plan, and that's just word of mouth. So I think in general they are going in the right areas where they can definitely thrive. And like I said, when it comes down to China, they initially brought that up by the end of 2021 that they're basically wanting to be in China for mid-decade. But outside of that, they haven't really elaborated at all. So I want to share that with you as well. And keep in mind, going back here, you actually might see some more studios opening up very much in the UK very, very soon because of this. So Lucid is making their debut in the UK. Finally, because I've been covering Lucid for a very long time, and I've been getting a lot of comments from a lot of individuals saying, hey, I cannot wait until Lucid is in, for instance, Wales or England. So when I did see this, I was absolutely so happy. This is definitely next level stuff. And to actually move the configuration over from the left hand to the right hand side for the driving definitely is a very big accomplishment for Lucid. And I know that's one thing that a lot of individuals said that was really deterring Lucid from entering the UK market was about that whole configuration, but it looks like they did achieve that, and they are going to be making their debut by the end of 2023. But that isn't even the best part of all this article. In this article, they do also talk on China. So China, they're looking to expand in 2023. Unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily say when they're looking to start to actually produce vehicles in China. But again, going back to my point, they are targeting the exact areas that have massive amount of demand. So China, Europe, and even more so the States is actually very much impressive as well. So I do anticipate kind of expanding at a faster rate than even Europe and China. My own interpretation, of course. I'm not a financial advisor, so do your own due diligence at the end of the day. But based on all of this expansion that they're really wanting to achieve, I anticipate a lot more studios popping up. So probably by 2024, this is going to be completely full of new studios, more specifically even in the UK as well. But I think in general, there's a lot of untapped potential all throughout here as well that Lucid could definitely do. Keep in mind though, Sultan did have a podcast and he did actually bring up China. So this might be something that you really need to factor in and consider, is that he said China technically doesn't really look for higher priced vehicles. The demand isn't there for that. They want lower priced vehicles. So this is where Lucid will have to come into the game and have their lower priced vehicle hopefully moved up a little bit faster to accommodate for China. But of course, maybe Lucid might just keep their high-end vehicles and just stuff it down China's throat. Who knows at the end of the day, but I think right now they would have to really launch their lower price vehicle to accommodate for the demand in China. So again, that is what Sultan did recently say in a podcast, but he could be wrong. Who knows how things will turn out in a couple of years. And again, it just says that they're looking to expand in China in 2023. It doesn't necessarily give any credible or updates in that regard on when they're looking to actually start producing vehicles. So I think that's a little bit more of an unknown factor there. But moving on from that, I just want to quickly go over some of the technicals. And when it comes to the technicals for the last week, I think the whole rumor's been kind of still in people's minds. People don't necessarily know if it's true or not. And if not, then it might potentially take it below this 100-day moving average. But until that is either confirmed or denied, whether it be from the PIF or potentially from Lucid, I think it is going to be trading within that 100-day moving average and the outside percentile of the Bollinger Band. Of course, if it is actually brought up and really denied, I anticipate it to kind of trade within this range. So the central Bollinger Band and that 100-day moving average as well. So I think in general though, despite the technicals and whatever happens, expansion wise is clearly all happening by the tail end of 2023, if not a little bit of 2024. And of course, that's just going to continue every single year. But when you're investing in Lucid, you need to think bigger picture, because it doesn't make sense to worry about short-term movements all the time and potentially what might happen in 1-2 weeks or whatever it is, especially if they are going to be entering into the China market and confirming that is going to be next level stuff for Lucid. And as I've already said as well, they're really hiring and ramping up a lot of good positions to really position themselves to make it easy for them to take over Europe, one country at a time. So I think right now it's a very exciting time for Lucid, and despite all the rumors that is out there, it could still be considered at a very good substantial discount for what it could potentially offer as well. And hopefully in their upcoming Q4 earnings, which in case you guys do not know is going to be held on February the 22nd, and I'm going to be live streaming that as well, but hopefully they do bring up as far as this expansion. So more specifically to China and Europe, and also maybe give us some extra surprises in that regard as well. More specifically as far as Saudi Arabia. Again, who knows? It's hopeful to think about that. But if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. If you do like my channel and support the growth, take a look at my memberships. Link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that said, appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.